Hi Rakshita,
Hi, Shambhavi.
how's everything going? How have you been?
I've been great. How about you?
Same, I've been doing great.
As a speaker, I'm always telling people that, you should read more, you should watch a lot of movies and in English, and that's what you should do for, improving your English.
Absolutely. That's what I do as a speaker too. I can completely relate. Also because it's one of my favorite things to do. Read and watch. Yeah.
And I feel like, doing these things in English is actually a very entertaining way to improve your English. There's no doubt about that.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And it's also like it's movies, books, for me personally, they're the most entertaining ways of working on our English. Like there's nothing better.
So true. But there's so much content out there if you wish to go out, if you wish to look for movies, or like if you type good movies to watch to improve your English, 1,000 suggestions are gonna pop up.
Yeah.
It's almost normal to get lost in that.
I hear you. Yes, yes, it would be completely normal to feel sort of overwhelmed by the number of movies and books that exist out there. Uh, and with so many options like Netflix, Prime, YouTube, you have so many platforms and so many movies, so many books. Yeah, it's completely normal to feel overwhelmed. Yeah.
So true. And not to forget that there can be various things that you can do, that can be kept in mind while watching and reading these things.
Really. Yeah. I actually know a thing or two about movies, but I'm not that in like I'm not too sure about what kind of books should I read. Like I read books because I enjoy reading, but when I have to suggest someone books that can help them improve their English, I'm a little skeptic when it comes to that. So, but movies are completely my thing. Yeah.
How about this? You share all the knowledge that you have about, well, watching movies, and I'll share what I have about reading.
Sure, yeah, sounds sweet. So, with movies, you can always try and choose British movies, which is what I personally do because as Indians, we've always followed the British curriculum in our schools, colleges, everywhere. So it really, and the British pronunciation and the Indian pronunciation of words are very, very similar. And they may or may not match that much with American pronunciation. So yeah, you can always watch some old classics such as so my favorite movie of all times is Notting Hill. It's a rom-com and I'm a huge romantic. So I love rom-coms. So Notting Hill, A Canterbury Tale, Bridget Jones' Diary, another rom-com. So yeah.
Actually, Jones' Diary is my favorite as well. I mean, would have watched this movie 1,000 times.
Yeah. So do I. Like I have watched it so many times, which brings me to my second point about repetition, watching one movie over and over again. This movie watching is going to be a learning experience. I can assure everyone who's watching this live right now, it's completely okay to watch one movie over and over again. It's going to be a learning experience. It will benefit you even more if you watch some of your favorite movies. See, what happens is the first time around, you could be paying a lot of attention to the story, to the storyline and how things go. But in the second time, you could actually pay attention to the kind of language that they use. So, yeah.
That sounds wonderful. I mean, it's so true, because I've seen Bridget Jones' Diary so often. I feel like I remember a lot of dialogues, and I have actually paid attention to the way that in which they're talking in that movie.
Mm-hmm. See, repetition can truly do wonders. And okay, so next comes one of my favorite techniques. For this one, when I was learning English, let's say when I was in the seventh or eighth grade, I used to pause the movie after every major scene. You know, some where something causes sort of a huge shift in the storyline or something that simply stands out for you. Pause the movie and try to repeat the dialogue while mimicking the emotions in the movie. You get what I mean?
Yes, I mean, I haven't thought of it like this before, but this sounds so amazing. I have to say, I was watching all of these movies, and now I'm going to take so much back from all these movies. I'll definitely try that.
Yeah, completely. Please do. This particular exercise can actually help you with various things, including voice modulation. That's one of the primary things it's going to help you with. It'll definitely help you with pronunciation. And lastly, it will help, like, it's it you can give detailed reviews about the movies that you've seen. All these movies that you're watching could be a new topic for you. You can practice your sentence formation and spontaneity with this. It's completely amazing.
Wow, I'm truly mind blown by the amount of things that you can do with just one movie. This is amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so this was about movies. What about books? We decided to trade, right? Movies for books. So yeah, what
Definitely,
about
definitely, and I'm going to keep up my end of the bargain. So I feel like, let's say first things first, okay? If you're a new reader, or if you're somebody who's, let's say, not even a reader yet, but you're somebody who's trying to push towards learning the language a little bit better, I would suggest starting with short stories. They're very short, as the name suggests, and it's barely 1 or 2 pages, so you can get it done in like one sitting, and you can sort of enjoy it, the whole thing in one sort of a.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it can novels. I can assure you, they take a lot of time. They also take a lot of patience because there'll be a character. You have to do that character building, and then you'll move forward with the story,
Yeah.
right? So I'll suggest some of my favorite authors. Okay.
Okay, but Rakshita, before you do that, let's listen to what our audience has to say about it. So, everyone who's watching the live right now, or everyone who will be watching it after it goes up as a video on YouTube, please do comment your favorite movies and your favorite books. And like always, the person who interacts with us the most gets a chance to actually be on our live. So, if there's any movie, if there's a book that you've read or a book that's very close to your heart, let us know and we'll have you on board and we can chat about it. I'm so sorry to interrupt, Rakshita. Yes.
No problem at all. So I was talking about some of my, favorite short story authors.
Mhm.
So the first one has to be Edgar Allan Poe.
I love him.
So do I. I got introduced to him, I think, in my first year of BA, and I was like, that was too late. I should have gotten to him sooner. But he writes such amazing, and I was never into this genre. He writes horror and sort of thrillers. I never enjoyed thrillers that much, but his stories are so, fun to read, especially because of his, the style of writing. There aren't a lot of dialogues, but there's a lot of repetition. So if, let's say, you want to learn a new phrase, you can definitely get that from an Edgar Allan Poe story. He leaves you
Repetition
with that.
always works with books, with movies. It just works. It does wonders, truly. Yeah.
I mean, it's our brain loves it.
Yes, it does. What are some of your other favorites? I'm just noting down the recommendations. So, yeah, go on.
Then it would have to be Nathaniel Hawthorne. One of my favorite stories, but he has written a lot of short stories. He was a famous short story writer. One of my favorites has to be The Birthmark. And it's a very different sort of a depiction of the scientific world and the scientific mind. And I, for one, enjoy it. The critique of the scientific mind, because I used to have science before. So now as an art student, I make sure that I critique it.
I can completely relate to that as another art student. We got this. Yeah.
We love this stuff.
Yeah.
Then another one of my favorites is The Gift of Magi, which is a story by O. Henry. Um,
Henry.
so- yes. From O. Henry, you must have heard The Last
The
Leaf.
Last Leaf,
Yes,
yes, that's what
exactly.
I was about to bring up. Yeah, I absolutely loved that story. It was so heart touching and so, yeah, I absolutely love it.
It truly is. And it's, you know, it has such a beautiful sort of a ending. And I feel like that's true with most of O. Henry's stories. They always have a very beautiful ending. They always have a take back, you know, not just like a momentary take back, but like a take back that you can keep for the rest of your life, you know, like a keepsake. So I love that. It's like a gift you get at the end of the story.
Really is, yes.
And the last one that I'm going to suggest is a truly mind-blowing piece of, well, fiction, let's call it. It's by Charlotte Perkins Gilligan. It's The Yellow Wallpaper. You know, the story is, well, it's
Never
so,
heard about that. Yeah.
I'll tell you more.
Yes, please do.
You know, the story actually is so moving that I still remember my literature teacher saying that there's life before the yellow wallpaper and then there's life after the yellow wallpaper.
Wow.
Can never
I'm
be the same.
dying to live the life after.
Yes, you should.
That
It's
sounds interesting.
it's very deeply related to therapy. And you know, in olden days, what used to be called therapy, it's a critique of that. And trust me, it blows you away. Like it makes you question things around you, like the wallpaper in your room. That's a
Wow.
spoiler.
It does
But
sound very interesting. Yeah.
it is, it truly is. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I loved all of your like I noted down all of your recommendations, and I've personally heard of Edgar Allan Poe. I've personally read the works of O. Henry. So I know, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I love those. But and you know, I would when I would go to college, I would love reading these short stories on my way because one, they're so, you know, they just help you pass time, and they're also, it's always a treat to read stories. I mean, who doesn't like stories? When we're kids, we like listening to stories. As we grow up, we like reading. It's, yeah, it's always a treat.
definitely is, you know. And I feel like that is one of the reasons why short stories can be a great thing that you can take up, especially if you commute on a daily basis. Now that things are finally opening up back again, you can always finish one off in your
Yeah.
train ride. And I know it's said that you should not read when it's moving a lot. So if you know if that's your situation, then don't read as much. But a lot of short stories, especially the ones which are a part of some or the other curriculum, are available in forms of audiobooks on YouTube. So you just have to type down the name of the story
Yeah.
and at least five or six and beautiful voices. Trust me, I was doing it for my course and I was like, these people are so talented. You know, the ones who were saying those for the short story, like the audiobook, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So
They are a blessing. Yes.
yes, truly. To add sentiment to someone else's writing is, well, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
What else? What, like, we've discussed short stories. What else do you like reading?
well, I'm an avid reader, so I read all kinds of things. But before I give more of that to you, we do have quite a few people who are with us and who are commenting on our YouTube. We see you guys.
We see
Uh,
you. Yes.
so we have Pahadi, we have Mr. Pahadi who's saying hi to us. Hi.
Hi.
We have Chirag, who's asking us about our favorite Netflix series. We will come to that, definitely. We have Arushi with us.
Hi, Arushi.
Yeah. She's saying that all of these books sound so interesting and fun.
They do. Yeah.
Truly do.
I agree with Arushi completely.
All right, so moving on.
Mhm.
Once you have mastered, you know, the art of sort of reading short stories, or once you've gotten the hang of reading per se, you can move on to something which people very rarely read, which is plays, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, and please do, and another first thing that come to our head especially when it comes to reading, but they can be a great thing for spoken English because they're constant dialogues, right? So there's not a lot of time that is wasted upon telling you what the situation looks like. You'll directly come to what you need from that story. You actually want to learn spoken English from it, and plays can be a
Yeah.
great place to start.
Yeah.
One of my favorite playwrights has to be Tennessee Williams. I have enjoyed his works thoroughly. Like, but a few of my favorites are like,
Yeah, like give me recommendations.
definitely.
Dying for it. Yeah.
So, two of his most famous plays are A Streetcar Named Desire and A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I mean, just the titles themselves speak for themselves.
Yeah, they sound very interesting.
They truly are. And they're so unnerving in ways because the conversations are so real, in the story that you're almost taken aback. It feels like and most of them are fights you'll be had. So it almost feels like a conversation you'll be having with your sibling, debating something random. But it's true.
That's true for most plays, right? It just feels like you're having a conversation, like, or you're just a spectator and a lot of people are having conversations and you're just there, you're watching, you're listening to them. Yeah, completely. And when it comes to plays, how can we miss out on Shakespeare? It's, I mean, I personally, I love reading short stories. I love reading novels. Plays, I don't think I've explored that arena a lot, but Shakespeare is something everyone who loves reading has read at least once in their lives. And so I studied in an ICSE school, and we were made to read Shakespeare. So that's how I got introduced to him, and then went on to completely fall in love with his works. But yeah, to give you some of my Shakespeare favorites, one has to be The Merchant of Venice. It's a classic. Romeo and Juliet, of course. And a lot of time when I talk to people about plays and Shakespeare, they think it's very hard to understand, or it's, it might be boring. Trust me, it's not. I remember this one play in particular. It's called The Taming of the Shrew. It's so funny. Have you read that?
Yes, it's hilarious. One of my favorites.
Hilarious, yes. So plays are not boring, not at all. They can be funny, they can be tragic, like Romeo and Juliet. They can completely blow your mind, like The Merchant of Venice. Yeah.
Trust me. And I feel like most of these classics, that were written such a long while ago,
Mhm.
they are still so relevant. It's amazing. It's mind-numbing, and even.
Yeah,
It's like almost all the things that they're talking about are still very much relevant to our time. So
that's true.
you'll never feel like you're lost in that era. So that's another fun aspect of it. But
What about the viewers? Tell us your favorites. Give us your recommendations. We would love to explore those. And if you want, you can join us on our live, DM us on our Instagram page, and we'd love to have you here with us. Yeah. What about novels, Rakshita? I personally love reading novels. So what about that? Do you like reading novels?
so do I, Shambhavi. I enjoy reading novels a lot. In fact, like a fair share of my day is mostly spent reading. But
That's how life is meant to be.
that's how it should be, even.
Yeah. Completely. Yes.
So, the thing with novels is, novels are very similar to movies, and you would have witnessed a lot of, yeah, great novels.
The
They do,
adaptations, yeah.
they get adapted into movies. Although, as a book reader, I would have to say,
My favorite movie adaptation of all times is the Harry Potter series.
oh my God,
And,
yes.
and there's this reunion premiering on the 1st of January, this Harry Potter reunion. It's, yeah, can't wait.
I had no idea. Okay, now I'm gonna put it down in my calendar. I'm gonna be there for that.
Yes, that's how New Year is supposed to be. That's how we're supposed to usher into the new year. Yeah.
Definitely. You've given me such wonderful news.
I'm glad.
But truly, I think the Harry Potter movies as well as books. I first read the books, fortunately. Got no spoilers. Very young when I read the books. But that was one of the first things that actually brought me into reading, because I always wanted to know what's going to happen next. So I kept reading. I could not put, like, if I was about to finish one book, I would run and get the next one.
Happens to me all the time. All the time.
That's the thing about series. That's why I suggest trying out reading series, because it keeps you in loop. what happens with me most of the time when I'm reading individual books is once I'm done with a book, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
What next? Right? But with series, you can always be like, oh my God, what? Because they almost always end on a cliffhanger. You know, always suspense.
So apart from Harry Potter, which would be your favorite novel series? Do you have any? Or is it Harry Potter?
I do. Harry Potter is in the top five, I'll have to say.
Uh-huh.
So I think one of my favorites, like my current favorite, is this series called The Last Magician. It's by Lisa Maxwell. It's a very recent series, and well, I've not finished it yet, so I'll have to say I'm just like every moment of my day that I can spare is spent reading that book. So, but
That's the thing with us readers. That's how we spend our days. That's what we think about all the time.
trust me, in my head right now, this story exists in some place, in some compartment. It's always there.
Yeah.
It's Lisa Maxwell. The name of the author is Lisa Maxwell, and the name of the series is The Last Magician. And as intriguing, and I'm all about magic. Trust me, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Another series that is actually related to magic is Carry On Simon, which is by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Rainbow Rowell. If anyone has ever had a session with me and asked for book suggestions, Rainbow Rowell would have always come up because I can't live without her. She's the only author actually that I've read every single work that she's written. Like she's written short stories and comics and novels. I've read all of it. I usually don't even read comics.
So I am a history student, right? I love history. So there's this another wonderful series of novels by an Indian author actually. Her name is Indu Sundaresan. And the first novel is called The 20th Wife. And it's about, so we hear about Shah Jahan and Mumtaz all the time because of the Taj Mahal, right? But this is about Jahangir and Noor Jahan, their love story. And even though she was his 20th wife, like it's okay, I won't give any more spoilers, but that's what it is about. And if you love history, even if you don't, I don't think I loved history back when I first read it, but the series, it's amazing. It's The 20th Wife, The Feast of Roses, and the third one I believe is The Shadow Princess. So it's a trilogy, and it's, yeah, I love it. It's my favorite book of all times. And speaking of Indian authors, there's another book. It's called The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, another wonderful Indian author. So yeah, that's another book that I really, really love. It's not a series, it's a novel, but it's really close to my heart.
Oh, I don't read a lot of Indian authors actually, and I'm very, very guilty of that. So I'm going to take you up on that trilogy as well as your favorite book, and I'm going to read that. Actually, the only Indian author that I've actually read a lot of books of is Durjoy Datta.
Oh,
And
I thought you were going to say Chetan Bhagat.
no,
And
sorry, no.
yeah, I do get a little disheartened. Anyway, yeah.
Me too. Like we don't like this. I don't have anything against him, but I feel like there are a lot of people.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
like it's not that I don't like his stories. I loved a few of his books. I loved 5 Point Someone. I loved Three Mistakes of My Life. But the thing is, if you're trying to learn English, I won't recommend that.
I think one of my favorites from his collection is One Indian Girl.
Mhm.
It was a
Haven't read
great
that.
perspective into a girl's mind. And I was like, okay, this is as a male author, he did a brilliant job. So I'm very, I look at books from that perspective also. You can always check this out. I do this once I've finished a book. I check out who the author is.
Author is.
Yeah, and what age group do they belong to? Because let's say after you finish when I first started reading the Harry Potter series, I thought J.K. Rowling was a guy. Like, no joke. I actually thought. So when I was like, oh my God, it's a girl. So it was a pleasant surprise.
And
Uh,
I have to read, history sources. I have to derive history from sources. So it's always very, very important to know who is writing the story. And it's always a fresh perspective that you get when you're reading it for the second time after you know who the author is and how he or she thinks. It's, yeah, it's really nice that way.
You know,
Hmm.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just asking you. So we've discussed a lot about books and a lot about movies, but if you had one favorite book to recommend, like one favorite, like one book that's really, really close to your heart, which one would it be?
I'll have to say there's this book called Landline by Rainbow Rowell. And, strangely so, it's mostly about Christmas. It's about,
Christmas.
yes, it is. It's about the gift of company during Christmas, So it's a very heart touching story. I would definitely recommend it. It's called Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Do check that out.
Wow, it's just the right time to read this.
Yes.
Christmas is tomorrow, and I cannot wait.
Same. And I don't think my family's we've never celebrated Christmas, but I love doing Christmassy things, like I light a candle, like a scented
Exactly that.
candle.
Yeah, and just the atmosphere around you, the red and green lights everywhere that you go, the decorations, everything. It's a pleasure, really.
Surely is. And it's a positive vibe in general, and I love it just brings in a day of positivity.
True, very true. So, speaking of Christmas and Christmas Eve, a very, very happy Christmas Eve to everyone who's watching the live, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, guys. And have a very wonderful, cozy Christmas at home. And I would suggest having a cup of hot chocolate with marshmallows. Go right on.
And to know more about movies and books recommendations, you can always check out our Instagram page. We have plenty of recommendations there. So, yeah, make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you like the live, comment on it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and celebrate Christmas. Be happy. Yeah.
Yes. Have a good time, guys. Be safe and have a good one.
Be safe. Yes. Very, very important. Yeah. All right, then. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.